This is Euphemia Harris and Charles Rice from Toronto, the makers of Eaton's Clothes for men and women with more than 1,200 leading retail stores from coast to coast, presents Arthur Conan Doyle's immortal character, the world-famous detective Sherlock Holmes.
This week's story, The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle.
Just look at that precious stone, Watson.
Yes, Holmes. Incredibly beautiful. Reminds me of my mother. She used to use her lemon juice for her complexion. Maybe that's why she always looks so sour. So pure, so brilliant.
Your mother?
The stone, Holmes.
Quite. But behind the beauty there is another beauty that is evil, Watson. This carbuncle was found in the mines of the Great White North.
The North Pole.
Timmins, Ontario, Canada.
Why do they call this stone a carbuncle? Is it the brotherly ancestor to carbon? Isn't the carbuncle ruby red?
Ignoring that first remark, indeed it is. But this is blue, and the rarity of it has given it a sinister history. There have been several attempted robberies and ferocious incidents involving our blue carbuncle player, an acid throwing, a government coup, 2 rounds of Among Us without finding the imposter, 1 dangerous game of hide and go seek the gem, and 2 murders.
Very sus.
If you're resolved to wage a war on high prices, here's a great way to begin. Go to your friendly independent store in your community that sells Eaton's Clothes, select a luxurious Eaton suit or Eaton dress that makes your taste, and take 50% off. Only £10.
This week and this week only. No money down. No payments till your next paycheck. No paycheck, no payments at all. This week only. No weeks only. We pay the shipping, we pay the postmark, we pay for the buttons, we pay for the coat.
You might ask, how do we do it? We won't answer.
We don't know.
In fact, we have no store, no clothes, no sales, no tax, no fee parking.
No parking at all.
You don't have to come. No money down, this week only. Wage war on high prices. Now, back to this week's case with Dr. Watson.
Well, Dr. Watson, since we are all in the holiday mood, I'd suggest you have deliberately selected the adventure of the Blue Carbuncle for this holiday season.
Please, tell us more about this surely gripping whodunit.
Indeed I have. This adventure is both a Christmas tale and the most intriguing crime. It was Christmas morning. It was a glorious London Christmas. We had a thick blanket of snow on the streets, and it glistened in the flickering gaslight. Now and then a sleigh would dash by, the horses prancing along as if they shared the festive mood, shaking their heads, it seemed, deliberately to jingle the bells on their harness. Stout gentlemen and women, cheeks as red as could be, broad grins on their faces, held the reins tightly in their mittens, carefully piloting their cargoes of gaily wrapped packages. At the corner of Good Street on Tottenham Court Road, a tall man with a pointy beard looking rather impoverished was trudging along. He carried a white goose, slung over his shoulder. As he reached the corner, a crew of young rowdies began to tease and chase him.
Yo, where you going, Governor?
Yeah, what you got there, pencil neck? Got a bit of charity for us, Governor, now don't you? I know it, I know you do.
I'd happily give you a few coins, but I really can't spare them.
How about that goose you carrying, eh? Blimey, I reckon you got plenty of spare change for a goose like that.
I reckon you're a regular globetrotter to be affording such a fine bird on St. Nick's Day.
Aye, Charlie, you are onto something. A regular high flyer. Probably sits on a golden toilet and has a bed made of rose petals.
Probably affords plenty of muffins and potpourri.
No, please, this goose is all I can bring home for my family for Christmas.
And this is my caring face, sir. Yeah, we heard that Christmas carol before, and we ain't singing it.
Hey, I got an idea. I bet I can knock you off with a snowball.
No.
Yeah, you're pretty tall, pretty thin. Easy to hit as a church steeple.
You wouldn't know a church steeple by the looks of you. I'd wager you've never set foot in one.
Oh, we got a clack box here. Come on, governor. How about a few?
No, let go of my coat.
Hey, what you said? Here comes my snowball.
So my.
Oh, good shot, Charlie. You've knocked him off.
You're good with a bit of snow.
Now, if you won't behave, I'll hit you with this old walking stick.
Oh, my old governor gonna take a swing.
Oh my, he's missed and broke that shop window.
Ain't no baby roof here, eh, Charlie?
Wait, hey, what are you... No. Hey, don't do that. Hey.
Now, what are you boys up to? You leave that poor man alone.
No way to behave at Christmas time. Now be off with you. Be off before I have my way with your runty arses. Shoot!
Oh, Jesus.
Where?
Come off it. Let's go, Charlie.
Right-o, Charlie. Smell you later, Governor.
Oh, thank you, both of you. Thank you.
Oh, not at all. My name is Higgins, and this here is my wife of 20 years, Delilah, or Mrs. Higgins to you.
Happy to help you, sir. After all, it's only one more sleep till Christmas.
I'd sing, but my heart is faint and breathlong right now, madam. Good heavens, the police had have broken that window. But thank you for assisting me, Miss Higgins. A Merry Christmas to you, sir, ma'am.
Wait! You left your hat there on the snow.
And you dropped your goose. Come back here. Come back.
Mr. Holmes, there's someone at the door for you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudson. Would you be so kind as to show them in?
Knock, knock.
I'm sorry?
Knock, knock.
Really, Mrs. Hudson, we don't have time for these games.
Knock, knock, boys.
Who is there?
Nacho.
Nacho Hume.
Nacho, housekeeper, go get it yourself.
And so, my dear Watson, as I was saying before, the Higginses family was left the victor in the Battle of Tottenham Court Road, left behind with the stranger's battered hat and his Christmas goose.
What did she and he do with the spoils, Holmes?
Here lies the problem, Watson. The Higginses do not know the identity of the tall, thin gentleman who vanished into the dark. They brought them here to Baker Street, knowing that even the smallest of problems are of interest to me.
Ha! If that were true, you would have solved the mystery of my ever-growing bunions. Selected problems for selected people more like it.
Wasn't there a single clue to this gentleman's identity?
By now, Watson, you must have realized that it's never a lack of truth. There's only a lack of intelligence necessary to find them out.
Your words.
Well, the rightful owner of the bird must be found immediately, Holmes. The poor devil has lost his Christmas dinner.
Poppycock.
What clues did you find?
A small card was tied to the bird's left leg. The card read, "For Mrs. Henry Baker." Upon the lining of the hat I have here in my hand, you will notice the initials H.B., but as there are some 1,000 Bakers...
Dozens, really.
It is not easy to restore lost property to any one of them.
And where is the Christmas goose?
By now, I should say it's fulfilling the ultimate destiny of every plump goose. We were afraid lest it spoil, therefore it is roasting this moment pleasantly in front of the Higginses' fire. I assume it shall make for a fine Christmas feast.
Would have made a nicer dinner for us if you'd half that brain you keep on fussing about. I'm off.
Is there any hope of us finding this Henry Baker and returning his hat?
There's a great deal of hope, Watson. A great deal indeed.
We was waiting downstairs, but Mrs. Hudson said Nacho.
Come in, Higginses. Don't be bothered by the least.
I'm sorry to burst in unannounced like this, sir, but the goose, the goose, the Christmas goose, sir.
I trust the news of this goose justifies the melodrama of your entrance, Higgins.
Oh, Mr. Holmes! Oh, Mr. Holmes!
Pray tell, the goose, has she sprung to life and flapped off through your kitchen window? Speak.
Good Mr. Holmes, my family and I found this in its crop.
Is that a diamond?
Why, yes, Dr. Watson, it must be. Cut through the goose, as though it would putty.
When you cut open the goose, you found this precious stone inside of it? Why, that goose must have been hungry.
This is more than a precious stone, Watson. This is the precious stone. This is the Shania of Twain's blue carbuncle.
Is it really, Holmes?
Precisely. I also know its size and shape, seeing as I've read the advertisement about it in the Times almost every day. This blue carbuncle is unique. The reward of £1,000 is certainly not a 20th part of its market price.
A reward of £1,000?
Yes.
Oh, do you mind if I sit down? Oh, £1,000. The things I could buy. Blimey. Shoes. Hats. Shoes with little hats on them. Food. Food for me kids.
If you think for 1 second we're keeping that doomed diamond, you've got another thing coming, Mr. Higgins.
Didn't I read in the newspaper that it was lost at the Hotel Cosmopolitan, Holmes?
You did, Watson. On December the 22nd, John Horner, a plumber, was accused of having stolen it from the Shania's apartment. The evidence against him was very strong.
I could buy drinks. Drinks for me kids. Drinks for me kids to fetch for me. Oh, a housekeeper.
James Ryder, the head attendant of the hotel, accused Horner, saying he had shown Horner to the Shania's dressing room so that Horner would fix a pipe.
Yes, I remember that.
Ryder left Horner alone in the room. When Ryder came back, Horner was gone. The bureau had been forced open and the box where the jewel was kept lay empty.
Yes, as I can see.
There was another employee involved, a Deborah Burns. She ran in the room when she heard Ryder shouting about the robbery and found the situation exactly as he described it in the court.
Yes, Holmes, but if this Horner stole the jewel, how did it get into the bird? And, what does Henry Baker have to do with it?
Mr. Baker should provide a satisfactory explanation to that mystery. We shall determine his innocence or guilt by a simple test the moment we produce it.
Oh, I had nothing to do with the robbery. You must understand. I'm innocent, Mr. Holmes. Please.
I told them, Mr. Holmes, we should mind our own business. We should leave the goose as it lays, as they say.
Oh, do they say that?
We should have given the bird back. As much as I love me a stuffing, Saint Nick don't look too kindly on those who progress as others regress.
What is my offence? What egregious sin have I committed, that I should be so thusly maligned? Was I to just sit idly by, watch this goose's soul embark on a doomed relationship with hell? No. Would Mr. Holmes or Dr. Watson have thanked me for that? Not very likely, I dare say.
Oh, one moment, Higgins's. We shall place an advertisement in the evening papers. Mrs. Hudson!
What is it, Sherlock? I've got a gentleman caller on his way. I really don't have time to make you another cuppa.
Would you mind giving me a pencil and, that slip of paper there?
Really? You called me up here for that? Yes, of course. There you are.
Found at the corner of Good Street, a goose and a black felt hat. Mr. Henry Baker can have the same by applying at 6:30 this evening at 221B Baker Street.
Will he see it?
Undoubtedly. He is a poor man. The loss is a heavy one. Higginses, will you have this put in the evening paper?
Very well, Mr. Holmes. And the stone? Hey?
I will return the stone to the Shania. Oh, and Higginses, would you buy a goose on your way back and leave it with me? We must have one to give to this gentleman in place of the one which your family is now devouring.
Oh, certainly, Mr. Holmes. I believe that will put everything right in the Lord's eyes.
Must say, a Christmas goose giveaway seems like the key to a happy marriage.
So is lethal injection in my experience.
That'd be a Christmas wish.
Oh, and Mr. and Mrs. Higgins, before you go...
Yes, sir.
I will give this to you on the principle of the reward being paid my way in full at the conclusion of this case. But as I am sure your seasonal kindness was the key to finding this carbuncle, I offer the reward now to you.
What a reward! £1,000! Blimey!
Oh, thank you, Mr. Holmes!
Yes, thank you, gentlemen both.
Holmes.
Oh, great Lord of mercy, what a wonderful Christmas this is. God bless thee, merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay.
Just look at that precious stone, Watson.
Yes, Holmes. Incredibly beautiful. Reminds me of my mother. She used to use lemon juice for her complexion. Maybe that's why she always looks so sour. So pure, so brilliant.
Your mother?
The stone, Holmes.
Ah, quite. But behind the beauty there is another beauty that is evil, Watson. This carbuncle was found in the mines of the Great White North.
The North Pole.
Timmins, Ontario, Canada.
Why do they call this stone a carbuncle? Is it the brotherly ancestor to carbon? Isn't the carbuncle ruby red?
Ignoring that first remark, indeed it is. But this is blue, and the rarity of it has given it a sinister history. There have been several attempted robberies and ferocious incidents involving our blue carbuncle player, an acid throwing, a government coup, 2 rounds of Among Us without finding the impostor, 1 dangerous game of hide and go seek the gem, and 2 murders.
Oh, what a time to be alive!
If you are shopping for the finest silver, you would naturally look for the silver mark. Similarly, you would want assurance of quality and value when you shop for those after-work and weekend suds.
When you buy Glen Adams beer, you get double assurance, the name of the beer plus the Glen Adams label. That's proof enough that you're getting one of Canada's greatest tasting values.
You see, the Glen Adams craft label is the symbol of a remarkable plan that concentrates the immense flavor and power of more than 1,200 fine types of hops, herbs, aromas, and barley malts.
The savings on production and distribution go straight into your pocket. Now, that's why your truly expensive-looking Glen Adams beer is only 5 shillings, and that's why millions of men and women cheers to the incredibly modest prices of Glen Adams beer, new premium lager.
So, be sure to visit the Glen Adams Brew Store in your city, and remember, that's one of the more than 300 beer stores across the nation where courtesy and friendly service are always yours.
Well, Dr. Watson, shall we return to the story of the criminal who stole the blue carbuncle?
Most certainly. I returned to Holmes' room late that evening to find Holmes with Mr. Henry Baker, the gentleman who'd lost his hat and his Christmas goose, who had appeared in response to the advertisement.
I'm Mr. Henry Becker to see you, sirs. And if anyone needs me, too bad. Socks on the door. Wink.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudson. Please, Mr. Baker, make yourself at home.
About your bird, Mr. Baker, we were compelled to eat it.
You've eaten my bird?
Yes, it would have been of no use to anyone had we not done so. I presume this other goose upon the sideboard will answer your purposes equally well.
I picked it out myself, sir.
We still have the feathers, the legs, the crop, and so on of your original bird, if you wish to have them. Would they be of any use to you, Mr. Baker?
No, none whatsoever.
You seem hesitant, sir. Doubtful.
I'm just moved by your pains, gentlemen. You might well have kept the bird and done nothing, but in the tradition of the Christmas spirit, you have provided me with a joyful surprise. You have done me such kindness, sir. Really, you have made this husband and father feel like a king.
Mr. Baker, would you tell me where you got the original bird? I'm somewhat of a fowl fancier, and I've seldom seen a better grown goose.
Certainly, Mr. Holmes. There are a few of us who frequent the Transac Inn.
Near the museum?
Yes. This year, our host, Windgate by name, instituted a goose club by which, on consideration of a few pennies every week, we were each to receive a bird at Christmas. My pennies were paid. Well, the rest is familiar to you. Now, if you'll pardon me, my hat.
Oh, yes. Here it is.
Thank you. I must dash home to share this wonderful bird with my family. You have the humble gratitude, gentlemen, of a poor soul whose Christmas you have brightened.
A small enough gift, sir, for the greatness of the day. Merry Christmas, Mr. Baker.
And a glorious holiday to you, Dr. Watson. Mr. Holmes.
Good evening, Mr. Baker.
He's quite innocent, eh, Holmes?
Quite.
More innocent and a fair bit ignorant, if you ask me.
Cute fella, though. So tall.
Oh, really?
At the moment, Watson, a Mr. Horner stands charged with the robbery of the Shania of Twain's blue carbuncle. Mr. Horner may serve a long sentence in prison undeservedly, and the actual culprit will still be at large. Who placed the priceless stone in the crop of the bird? We must answer that damning question, Watson. We've no time for sentimental rubbish. Quickly, to the Transact Inn.
Oh, there's the landlord of this inn at the bar. Holmes, red-faced goddess in the white apron. Name's Wingate.
Mrs. Wingate,
What'll it be?
2 glasses of beer, please.
2 glasses of beer it is.
Your beer should be excellent if it's as good as your geese.
My geese?
Yes, I was speaking only half an hour ago to Mr. Henry Baker, who is a member of your goose club.
Oh, but them's not our geese.
Indeed. Then whose are they?
Oh, I got 2 dozen of them from a salesman in Covent Garden.
I know some of those salesmen. Which one was it?
Let me see now. His name was... Oh, yes. Breckenridge.
Breckenridge. Thank you, ma'am. Come, Watson.
Yes, right you are.
Wait. You haven't drunk up your...
Your payment, Mrs. Wingate. We've more urgent matters at hand.
Not even time for a toast to the jolliest holiday of them all.
No, nonsense.
Well, good night, Ebenezer Scrooge.
Oh, come off it, Holmes. Let's raise our glasses.
Fine, Watson, but you know I can hold many things, and liquor is not one of them. I hold you responsible if an innocent man hangs. We must fetch a cab and race to the Covent Garden market. Its salesman is Breckenridge. He holds the solution to the riddle of the stolen jewel.
But first, a chug for chums. Cheers, gents.
Are you tired of being alone?
So are we.
Maybe it's time to become a master to a man and a woman's fuzziest best friend.
For a limited time, Hamilton Farms have not 1, but 2 litters of the finest Bernese mountain dogs I've ever laid eyes on.
No oily fur or residue, no smelly aftertaste.
To look and feel your best, Hamilton Farms is the pick for your canine companion.
And we are joined by 2 of the breeders here today. Welcome.
I thank you, kind sir. And might I say what a pleasure it is to be with you talking about the sweetest of all God's creatures, the dog.
Well, and who do we have here with you today?
We've brought along with us today one of our prize mountain dogs, Churchill. Say hello, Churchill.
That is dog for good day.
Now, tell me, as our families sit at home by their radio, why should they get in their cars this weekend, fill up their tank of gas, pack some bologna sandwiches, and drive up to Hamilton's Farms to add the newest addition to the family?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. You see, at Hamilton Farms, our dogs have a life most men and women would dream of. Beautiful beds, the finest raw meat upon which to lunch, and the freshest of lake waters to sip.
Our dogs are trained from a very early age to be obedient and kind. So, when you need that fridge door opened because you can't pull yourself away from this very radio program, Churchill here, or one of his thousands of offspring, are there.
He is a tired fellow.
Well, I'll bet.
Well, life sure sounds swell on Hamilton Farms.
It is. Churchill here can attest.
Just last afternoon, as the sun was setting, there he was, with his children and great-grandchildren, romping as if with his school chums and the fens and spinneys, with the twilight bathed the hedgerows like a lambent flame.
Well, I say, I think I might have a new best friend for next weekend to walk around the block. Take note, listeners, if you are looking for the finest of canine companions, choose Hamilton Farms.
Oh, Churchill. Now, back to the show.
help me put up these shutters.
Right, Mr. Breckenridge.
You hear those church bells, Bill, my lad?
I do, Mr. Breckenridge.
It's the sweetest music a man could ever hear. Church bells at Christmas time. You know what the bells are saying?
What, Mr. Breckenridge?
They're saying you got no business in the store working this night. You, young Bill, belongs with the other youngsters around the trees, and me, Mr. Breckenridge, I should be standing at the punch bowl with my good wife and my dear friends. Well, up with the shutters, Bill, my lad.
Good evening, Mr. Breckenridge.
I am that, and a very happy evening it is too, sir, an holiday evening.
Yes, so it is. By George.
Oh, quiet, Watson. Sold out of geese, I see.
I'd like to have 500 tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning will not do. It will not do. Surely you may find just one more. I was recommended to you, please. Pretty, please.
By you?
We were recommended by the landlord of the Transac Inn.
Ah, yes, I sent over a couple of dozen.
Oh, fine birds they were, too. Plump, delicate, delicious, goosey. Where did you get them?
Now then, mister, what are you driving at? Let's have it straight now.
It's straight enough.
We would like to know who sold you the geese which you supplied to the Transac Inn.
Well, I shan't tell you.
It's a matter of no importance, but I don't understand why you should be so disturbed over such a trifle.
Trifle, is it? You'd be angry too if you're as pestered as I am. I pay good money for a good article, that should be the end of business, but it's where are the geese, and who did you sell the geese to, and what will you take for the geese? Never more my years my stall have I ever heard such a fuss.
Well, I have no connection with any other people who've been making such inquiries, but I'm always ready to back my opinion on a matter of fowls.
Meaning just what?
Meaning that I have a fiver on it that the bird I ate is country bred.
Why do you say that, Holmes?
You've lost your fiver, it's town bred.
It's nothing of the kind.
I say it is.
And I don't believe it.
You think you know more about fowls than I? You've handled them ever since I was a nipper. I've a sovereign honour with you just to teach you not to be obstinate. Bring me the books, young Bill.
A second. They're up on this shelf. Here's the big ledger.
Now then, Mr. Cockshaw, if you'll step over here to the lamp.
Very well.
I'll lick my thumb. And I'll find the page. I need new spectacles. Ah, here we are. Look, the third name. Just read that out to me.
Mrs. Oakshott, 107 Brixton Road, egg and poultry supplier.
Read the last entry.
December 22nd, 24 geese at 7 shillings and 6pence.
Quite so. What's to say underneath?
Sold to Mrs. Windgate of the Transac at 12 shillings.
Now, what are you going to say now?
You owe him a sovereign, Holmes.
There it is.
You won, Mr. Breckenridge. You won.
So I did, Bill, my lad, so I did. And you have a sovereign, seeing as it's Christmas time.
Oh, thank you, sir.
You, Mr. Breckenridge, are a kind man.
Come, Watson, the air about this store becomes sickeningly sweet.
I'm with you, Holmes. Well, evening, Mr. Breckenridge, and a Merry Christmas.
A Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Merry Christmas.
Walk down the street a bit with me, Watson. We must confer privately about our next steps.
I should say it's Brixton Road, Holmes. This Miss Oakshott who raises the geese must know how the blue carbuncle came into the bird's crop.
Undoubtedly. Now that I've duped Breckenridge by means of that wager into telling me the woman's name...
I've had enough of you and your geese. I wish the devil...
It's the salesman, Breckenridge. Who's the little fella he's arguing with? He wasn't at the stall before.
You come pestering me with more of your silly talk, I'll set the dog at you.
Come on, Mr. Breckenridge,
You bring Mrs. Oakshott here, and I'll answer her. But what have you got to do with it? Did I buy the geese off you?
No, but one of them is mine all the same.
Well, then ask Mrs. Oakshott for it.
This may save us a visit to Brixton Road, Watson. Come, we'll see what's to be made of this fellow.
I've had enough of this. Get out!
He's chased the stranger away from the store. Here he comes.
We must stop him, Watson.
One moment. Stop where you are.
Who are you? What do you want?
Oh, you'll excuse me, sir. I could not help overhearing your conversation with Mr. Breckenridge. I believe I may be of some assistance.
But who are you? How could you know anything about it?
My name is Sherlock Holmes. It's my business to know what other people don't know.
I'm Dr. John Watson.
You, sir, are endeavoring to trace some geese which were sold by Mrs. Oakshott to Mr. Breckenridge at the stall down the street. The geese were sold in turn to Mrs. Wingate at the Transact Inn, and then to Mr. Henry Baker.
Then you do know about it. You can help me.
Of course I can. Your name, sir?
My name is John Robinson.
No. The real name. It's always awkward doing business with an alias.
Well, my real name is James Ryder.
Precisely so. You are the head attendant at the Hotel Cosmopolitan, where the Shania's precious jewelry disappeared.
Please, Mr. Holmes,
I suggest we discuss this case at my residence at Baker Street.
This is more like it. Oh, that fire's very cozy.
Mr. Ryder, I've invited you here to Baker Street because you want to know what became of those geese.
I want to know desperately, Mr. Holmes.
You are concerned, Mr. Ryder, with one bird in particular, white with a black bar across the tail.
You know about it. Can you tell me where it is?
It came here.
Here?
Yes, and it laid an egg after it was dead. The prettiest, brightest blue egg. I have it here in my strongbox. Here it is, the Shania of Twain's blue carbuncle.
Oh. I'd like to explain.
Grab him, Watson. He seems faint.
I'll help him into this chair. There we are.
Not a very sturdy or convincing criminal, are you, Mr. Ryder? You've heard, of course, of this blue stone?
It was Deborah Burnside who told me about it.
Yes, I see. The hotel attendant. You knew this man Horner had a criminal record, that it'd be easy to point suspicion toward him. You and your lady friend managed to have Horner the plumber sent for. After he left, you rifled the jewel case, raised the alarm, and had him arrested.
Mr. Holmes, I never went wrong before. I never will again. Don't bring this into court.
It's all very well to be contrite now, Mr. Ryder, but you thought little enough of poor Horner in the dock for a crime which he knew nothing.
I'll leave the country, Mr. Holmes. The charge against him will break down.
We still haven't had an account of how this precious stone got into the goose's crop, Holmes.
Yes, Watson. Well, Mr. Ryder, you've begged forgiveness, but you've not explained very much.
Yes, I'll tell you. After I'd taken the stone, I knew there was no place about the hotel where it would be safe, sir. I've a friend, Maudsley by name. He served time in Pentonville. He knows the ways of thieves, and I counted upon Maudsley to help me turn the stone into money. I ran into my sister's house, a Mrs. Oakshott on Brixton Road.
Yes, I presume that while you're there, it occurred to you to hide the priceless gem in the crop of one of her geese, which were probably waddling in her backyard when you arrived.
Just so, Mr. Holmes. She promised to give me one of the birds for the holidays, and I selected one, white with a barred tail. I forced the jewel down its throat. Then my sister came out of the house. She told me to select a goose. Well, there was great numbers of them in the yard, and I pointed to what I thought was the proper bird, white with a barred tail. I carried the goose to Maudsley.
And when you opened its crop, you suddenly realized there was more than one goose that was white with a barred tail?
I was frantic, Mr. Holmes. I discovered the goose had been sold to Breckenridge at Covent Garden. I ran to a stall, and that's where you found me. Now I'm a branded thief.
Miserable creature, Holmes.
I yielded to a moment's temptation. Don't turn me into Scotland Yard. I'll do whatever you ask. I'll make amends somehow.
You know, Holmes, if Ryder here doesn't appear in court, the case against Horner will collapse. That's fair enough, isn't it, Holmes? Send Ryder to jail now, and you make him a jailbird for life. You may be commuting a felony, but you'll save this man's soul. Must you turn him over to the yard? Well, Holmes?
What do you say, Mr. Holmes? What do you say?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Pray, what do you say? I'm on the edge.
Get out, Mr. Ryder.
What?
No more words. Get out.
Oh, God bless you, sir. God bless you.
You've astonished me, Holmes.
Well, Watson, I'm drunk, knackered, can't see straight, playing with Aunt Fanny on a Sunday, drinking the juice, and this is the season for forgiveness, isn't it?
Yes, of course it is, but I thought you'd quite forgotten that, Holmes. I thought you'd no use at all for Christmas. I thought landlord Wingate was quite right calling you Ebenezer Scrooge.
Well, even old Scrooge had a change of heart, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Holmes, yes, he did.
Mr. Holmes, I thought we'd come by and check on our case.
You see, I was thinking, geese, they migrate south in the winter, and maybe they would...
Perfect timing, Higgins.
We solved it. Well, shall we drink to it? Shall we drink to John Ryder, landlord Wingate, Breckenridge the shopkeeper, and Little Bill?
To Mr. Henry Baker, the poor devil who got caught up in all this mess.
To them, and with all my heart, to you, Holmes. Merry Christmas.
I join you in the toast, my dear Watson. A very Merry Christmas indeed.
God bless us, everyone.
Well, Dr. Watson, the adventure of the Blue Carbuncle was a very charming and appropriate story.
I imagine the next year, though, we return to the bloody, grotesque, and great struggle between Holmes and the most brilliant criminals of his time.
We do. We surely do. Next year's adventure is entitled The Adventure of the Malicious Orange Idiot Who Wouldn't Concede His Power, which strangely resembles the story of Shakespeare's Richard III.
Our stories are based upon the character Sherlock Holmes, created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and the program is adapted and produced by Matty Burns, based on a story written by Howard Merrill, with special music by Jeffrey Adams, featuring a marvelous cast of Stephanie Adams, Matthew Pilipiak, David DiFrancesco, Merritt Crews, Stephen Suepaul, Andrew Kelly, Meg Kelly, Matty Burns, Dayna Miller, and Dave Miller.
If you don't know your Glen Adams beer dealer, write Glen Adams Beer, 200 5th Avenue, Oshawa City. If you want the canine companion, visit Hamilton Farms today. Remember, in 1949, beginning January 3rd, the makers of Eaton's Clothes, Hamilton Farms, and Glen Adams Beer will bring you the exciting adventures of Sherlock Holmes over most of these Canadian broadcasting stations. Check your local newspaper and station for time.
This is your host, Euphania Harris and Charles Rice signing off, and wishing all of you a happy new year.